Now, one of our goals in this particular section is to bring back our data from our API. And one of the ways we can do that is by using React lifecycle events. Now, in this particular section, just at this very, very early stage of the course, what I'm going to do is actually use a normal React class component to do this. And the reason for this is that the React class components gives us access to state and lifecycle. When we get our data back from our API, I want to store that in our React state or our component state. And also, when our component mounts, we can use a React lifecycle method called component_did_mount to go out and get the data from our API. Now, I've mentioned React hooks several times already, and we will be doing the equivalent of this using React hooks. But because it's so early on, and just in case you've never used React before, I just want to take a very brief look at a React class component to do this. And then we'll look at doing the equivalent in React hooks. Now, if we go back to our VS Code, and we go into the client app, inside the source, and we click on app.tsx, what we can see that this is not a class component. This is a normal React functional component, and it's being given a type of React function component as well. And just at this early stage, we're just going to convert this into a class component so we can go and get our data in a traditional way from our API. And what I'm going to do is add the component as an import, a named import from React. So I'm going to bring in components, and then instead of this being a const, I'm going to convert it to a class. And instead of this being an arrow function, what we'll do is we'll say this extends components. And when we use a React class component, it's got one required method, and that's the render method. So we need to specify render as a function, and then what we can do is cut and paste what we're returning directly inside this render method. And what we should find is that everything is exactly the same. We've not made any code changes inside here. And if we go back and test this in the browser, we should find that we're in the same position we were before. But what we have access to now inside this class component is we have access to React lifecycle methods. And if I start typing component, then we can see what's available for us to use inside this particular class. What we also have available that's not listed here is access to component state. And what we'll take a look at next is how we can add state into one of our React components and then make use of that state to display the list of values on our page. And we'll take a look at that next.